Colm Fagan, Vantage, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Gary, and you?
Living the dream. Thank you for bringing me to your favourite bar, Austy's, Ross's Point, County Sligo.
It's a long way for a dub to come.
It's that we're going to get on really well. Thank you for that. But why is it your absolutely favourite bar?
It's Ross's Point is one of the gems of Ireland that not many people know about. One of the I would say one of the world's best golf courses. But Austy's to me is the sort of place on a summer's evening, you sit outside, you have a beer, you look over Coney Island, you're looking up. On one side you have Knocknaray, the other side you have Bet Bulbin, but then in the depths of winter, it's in for a cuddle and a warm pint. A pint in the warmth of the fire and a dog lying on the floor beside you. So to me, it's a very, very special place and somewhere you switch off.
So tell me, how much do you pay by Sligo Tourism Board?
I don't. I'm just married to somebody for 20 years in Sligo, so I have to say good things about it now and again.
But it looks like that type of place, and we've been to a few on this show, that back in the day, you probably would have got your tea and your sugar, and you placed the odd bet. The whole thing. It was probably a shop as well as a place for a pint, yeah?
Yeah, it was right on, like back before there was land reclaimed, it was right on the coast, and it's a real locals place. Like you'd have an odd crab fisherman, you'd have lads down from the golf club. It's a real locals place. It's just full of locals, and then the summer it's full of tourists.
And for those not overly familiar with Ireland and the geography of it, it really is right out there, isn't it, Sligo?
Yeah. The next stop is the US. Next stop is Newfoundland.
And that brings its own charm and its own challenges, whether it's summer or winter, as you mentioned.
It doesn't beat you. The gales and the rain. You always bring a jacket in Ross's Point.
Yeah. And do you play a bit of golf, would you, or just look at them playing golf?
I would walk around and maybe look at them and try and play myself, but it's not. I paid out more money than I've won in 2023. Put it like that.
So we're sitting there. Actually, that little chair in the bottom right-hand corner, that looks like it's actually carved to fit your butt.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, it's like an old tractor chair, isn't it, or something, or an old spinning wheel chair or something.
Yeah, it looks very comfortable, I must say. So there's a massive a big storm comes in off the Atlantic, and there's a big lightning storm, and everything gets wiped out except 3 apps on your phone. What are they?
I suppose one would have to be the Irish Times. Grew up in a house with a paper where the Times was always in it, and it's probably one of the first things I'd do in the day is I'd look at the Time a couple of times a day and read something that takes my fancy. Like today, I read the good news about Airgrid's plans for cabling in Dublin to upgrade their system. So that got my attention this morning. So the Irish Times would be one. With 3 teenagers, probably the second one would be Revolut. Because it's an essential part of family life, and so it is. And I suppose, like many parents, I just get Revney, thanks. So Revolut.
Don't even get the full name of it. Just Rev it, Dad.
Yeah, Revney. And I suppose my third one would be maybe slightly quirky. Would be the Aer Lingus app, because in my role with Vantage, I'd spend a lot of time outside of Ireland. And there is something nice about getting on an Aer Lingus flight. There is something very welcoming about, you feel you're nearly home, regardless of where you're coming from. So, it's probably that one that I can get home. So they'd probably be my 3.
I'm going to go back to your first one for a second. The newspaper. When you were younger and it was a physical thing, did you start to read the paper from the front to the back or the back to the front?
Probably back to back. the back page was always a bit of fun. You know, like the Times, I always loved reading what was going on, who was doing what, and then the front. But like it was just something. The paper was always there. Like I have an abiding memory of the paper in the house on the kitchen table, and everyone would have flipped through it. Probably the seniority would have taken over. My mum read the bridge before anyone. My mum would have read the bridge before anyone else touched the paper, you know. And then that was the bit with my aunts on the phone for the next hour. But it's just something we always did, and it's something I keep going. I would still do. Very rarely buy a physical paper. Like I wouldn't buy a paper, but yet I would subscribe to the Times.
Isn't that interesting? Like yourself, we're this transition between born with digital everywhere to, you know, evolving into digital everywhere. And I'm the most digitalized person and all that. But I love still to buy a local paper at least once a week, because what it gives me is it gives me these random pieces of information, like largest carp or largest this caught off the coast of Bray. Because what I'm finding, I don't know about you, Colm, is because of the algorithms, we're sort of going very deep and very narrow on stuff we already know or like and stuff. This random info is very, very important. And if you want to have a chat with a local, nothing like knowing about the local, something they don't know, you know?
Yeah, it's that connection, I suppose, with the locality. And I like, to me, the paper's a great way of taking things in. Like, you know, like even the thing this morning, it's an interesting read. It's something that's topical in our world, and it's something you'd miss. And then, you know, there's just something very nice about flicking through and reading what you want to read. And I think that's the nice thing about the digital edition is that you choose what you want to read.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So we're there. You've got your app. The storm is after passing. The door whacks open. Dead or alive, male or female, who's standing there would you just love to have a pint with?
Nelson Mandela.
Great choice. I mean,
And my logic behind Nelson Mandela is that I think he's somebody that saw change before anybody else did. And I'd like to understand what his drive, his motivation, and how he kept himself going, especially during his internment in Robben Island. Like, what kept him going, and how did he, like, we all waver at times. So how did he stay so true to his course?
it's very true, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
we crossed over, you and I, when we were in South Africa recently, and you look at the cell that he stayed in, and all that you can think about is how is it he didn't become so bitter?
Yeah, and I suppose, like, if you look at the challenges he faced, and like, I suppose what I'd like to do with him is I'd like to bring him back now, and bring him back again in 20 years to see how South Africa has evolved, and was this, you know, is this what he thought it would turn into? Is this what his vision of South Africa was? And then how would he tackle the problems they have there at the moment?
No, you're so right. And you feel when you're there, and not just uniquely there, that pendulums sometimes swing too far the other side, and
Yeah,
it needs a moderate mind to that's trust. Is trust the word, Colm, that I'm looking for? That's
yeah,
trusted.
probably. Yeah, yeah. So he'd be the one person I would like to sit and have a chat with.
Yeah. I mean, you probably saw a bit of it yourself, being very close to the border, growing up as a kid, Northern Ireland, John Hume and the likes of those voices. They, you know, they might have been labeled as one thing, but they seem to be more central in terms of would you put him in the same category of not quite Nelson Mandela, but
Definitely, definitely. Like he most definitely was a central character. Like you know, like when you see the respect, not
yeah,
only the South Africans had, but the world had, he had to be. He couldn't have been a marginal character, and that respect or that impact.
yeah, no, you're so
I suppose John Hume would be, if you think he's the Irish version of Nelson Mandela.
yeah, no, and I guess we can learn from that as well because we all get so entrenched, don't we? it
Yeah,
seems
we do indeed. Yeah, we do indeed.
it seems no
Become
matter
very silent.
it doesn't matter what we are, whether we support Manchester United or Liverpool or whether we're Monaghan or Galway, we get so entrenched. Whereas these characters seem to be able to be more interested in the sport and then their team.
Yeah.
And yeah, we could certainly do with a few more of them, or maybe we have them and we're just not seeing them, and we'll see them in hit when we look back. We'll say, you know, they were the Mandela of their day. But what can you teach me? Not you can teach me that I don't know about. Interesting fact that you think I wouldn't know. Anything.
About I don't know. Like, I suppose if it was me saying to you, what's something about me that you wouldn't know, it would have to be that I've ran 12 marathons. So I have, and I've ran 9 under 4 hours, and my driver was very, very simple. That somebody who remained nameless did the marathon. Said that they would have done it in under 4 hours, only that they stopped twice for the toilet, and that I wouldn't know what they were talking about because I would never run a marathon.
Okay.
So I took that as a motivation. A motivation, did nothing, went training, said nothing, and then the week before the marathon said, "Hey, I'm running Dublin Marathon next week, darling. Will you come out with the kids and support me?"
Hold on. I gotta go back. How do you train for a marathon and say nothing? You're going off for 2.5 hours or 2 hours.
I was lucky. I lived in Holland at the time, Monday to Friday, and I trained Monday to Friday and said absolutely nothing. And then announced to my darling wife the week before I was going to run the marathon.
I'm getting a sense that it might have been the darling wife that might have said that she would run a marathon, but
it was, yeah, it was. She reckoned that I'd never have ran one in my life.
And would you have had any sporting acumen in your back catalogue? Would you have played a bit of Gaelic, like, or would you anything at all, or was this totally out of character, Colm?
No, I would have played GAA till I was probably late 20s, early 30s, but then this was totally out of character, like, totally out of character. Never ran in my life, never ran, hated running, didn't like it. I just, pure determination.
So you're the guy, still like myself. You want to get me to do it? Tell me I can't do it, or tell me I won't do it, or tell me something, and that is the motivation factor. And isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose it's like, like it's, if you take it back to what we all do, it's having that mindset to change things and think outside the box and don't take no, because look, if what we do is challenging enough, there has to be solutions. So don't look at the solution rather than the problem.
Do you know, it came up yesterday in another call where the guy had a quote. Everything is solvable. That's his mission. That's his mission statement. Everything is solvable. And he didn't put a and he didn't put a timeline on it. Like, it mightn't be a month. It may not be in my lifetime, but let's get rid of this. Everything is solvable. That was brilliant. I thought it was, when you think about the companies you've worked with and for mission statements, paragraphs of the shit, paragraphs,
Yes.
mission statements, buckets of them, the whole lot. The best one I ever saw was our mission statement is get shit done. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
but like, take it a solution, not the problem. That'll be
12 marathons in. That's a fair. So the first one I get, that was grit, determination. I'm going to prove you wrong. What about the other 11, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know, but I started out, I don't know, just got into the habit of it, and then I fell out in love of it in 2023, and I decided 1st of January that I'm going to do Dublin again. So this morning I've been out for a run this morning, and I'm going to do Dublin in October.
Yeah, far enough away to probably ramp up. Is that the way you people think? You go for 5, then 10, then 20? That's just the...
We'll see. No plan, no nothing. Just see how it goes. Like for me, what it gives me, what it does to me is it gives me headspace. I'm a morning person, so like this morning I went for a run at 6 just before 6, and I ran around the city. You know, saw a bit of a city. You know, it's nice. It gives me headspace.
So important to find your own. So Colm, it's been short and sharp. We've been to the west coast of Ireland. We've run 12 marathons, which is, Mac, that's nearly 300 miles. We've found out about your motivational factor. We've been to South Africa. My God, we've been a lot of places in 13 minutes. So I thank you for your time. Yeah, we didn't leave a screen. Bye bye.
Thank you.